a science classroom. You might see labs and experiments. What do you see when you walk into a social studies classroom? Is it a laboratory of democracy where students are seeing themselves as civic actors? Or is it a place where,
one more minute, guys,
traditionally they've been sat and told what is they should be doing?
Oftentimes in the way that social studies used to be is that an answer that was either given by a teacher or by a textbook became sort of the authority. How do I make sure that I as a student align with everybody else in the class to what the teacher wants us to do based on what the textbook says should happen?
It's great to hear about those stories about the founding of our country, but as our society makeup has changed, it's even more important if we want to engage kids for them to see someone that looks like them in the story, be they female, be they of color, being inclusive of all voices and of all of that having value.
Questioning and argumentation is when students are able to enter the classroom as individuals. And by entering as an individual, we're now creating individual minds that then work in a collective,
Yes.
which is a very different thing than having everyone leave the classroom with the exact same answer.
And so What Is a Vote Worth doesn't just encapsulate what's happening with women and the celebration of 100 years of suffrage, but it also looks at the Voting Rights Act. It also looks at how we view democracy. There's an element of Be a Citizen, which is actually a companion site. I used to ask my students, when do you get your rights? And oftentimes they would say 18. And I think it's so connected to voting that they've discounted themselves. You can actually go to our site and register to vote. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait until you're 18 to explore your rights and responsibilities as a citizen. It's our job to help walk them through the process. These are the individual exhibits that the Frazier's doing. When you click on any of the buttons, it actually takes you to questions that we have around prominent Kentucky women suffragists.
Our shared history is what history museums are about, being a place in the community for gathering and for dialogue and for asking questions. What is relevant from the past to us today? There's all sides of a story to be explored.
They're now going to have to survive the skepticism or interrogation or more questions by other students in the class, including the teacher.
Yeah, and they'll be prepared to do that in whatever
exactly right.
classroom environment they're in.